Hello, friends. This is Professor Googlov. On my channel, you mostly watch videos about the beautiful world around us. But today, it's a little different. What is it about? Keep watching to find out. Souza Baranovsky Correctional Center, USA. The Souza Baranovsky Correctional Center was established in 1997 in Lancaster, Massachusetts as a highly advanced maximum security correctional facility. It is the only facility of its kind in the state, housing approximately 1,000 inmates who are kept in individual cells and rarely released. The center implements all the necessary precautions one would expect from such an establishment, with electronically controlled doors connected to the main control hub, round-the-clock inmate surveillance, regular security patrols, motion detectors, and meticulous inmate scheduling. There is no reason to doubt the prison's security, as no one has managed to escape in over 25 years. Changi Prison, Singapore. Located in eastern Singapore, Changi Prison was first opened in 1936 on the site of a former correctional institution. Initially intended to house local criminals, the prison was converted into a prisoner of war camp by the Japanese after their occupation of the country in 1942. Changi Prison also served as the headquarters for the Japanese military police, where numerous crimes were committed against both Allied prisoners and civilians. Ironically, when Singapore was finally liberated from Japanese control, Changi Prison became a camp for Japanese prisoners of war. Over time, it once again began housing some of the most dangerous criminals in the country. However, by the year 2000, Singapore's criminal justice system struggled to cope with the increasing number of convicted offenders and the risks they posed. As a result, the decision was made to reconstruct Changi Prison, which now spans 47 hectares. The new facility replaced several other prisons in Singapore, consolidating them into one location. Today, it is one of the most secure institutions on the planet. The new Changi Prison is utilized to house Singapore's most dangerous inmates, including death row inmates. Singapore also employs a system of judicial corporal punishment, where certain offenders are punished with bamboo caning several days a week in prisons. Despite the prison being rebuilt and now operating in a modern building, great attention is paid to its historical significance. Structures built by the prisoners during the war have been preserved, and there is also a museum on site. Portlaoise Prison, Ireland. Portlaoise Prison is a maximum security correctional facility located in Portlaoise, Ireland. It is considered one of the most heavily guarded facilities in Europe. Established in the 1830s, it housed some of the most notorious and dangerous Irish criminals, including members of the IRA and other terrorist organizations. Due to the unique security measures implemented in the prison, anyone convicted of crimes against the state must serve their sentence in Portlaoise. Officially, the prison can accommodate up to 400 inmates, but it rarely exceeds 120 individuals. The prison authorities prioritize ensuring that each offender is properly guarded. The facility is patrolled around the clock by a squad of soldiers, each armed with rifles and machine guns. The perimeter is surrounded by a high fence and cameras, along with various other surveillance measures such as motion sensors, thermal detectors, and pressure sensors. Throughout its history, there have been only 2 successful escapes from the prison. The first occurred in 1902, and the second in 1974 when 19 inmates breached the walls. In recent years, there have been concerns about the amount of contraband entering the prison. This has led to increased searches conducted within the cells and the implementation of measures aimed at limiting inmates' interactions with the outside world. Devil's Island Penal Colony. Although the Devil's Island Penal Colony, located on Devil's Island, is now closed, it remains the most secure prison facility ever created in the world. Administered by the French from 1852 to 1953, it was used to house political prisoners as well as thieves and murderers. Devil's Island was part of French Guiana, and the inmates were subjected to horrendous conditions. At some point in its history, 75% of those sent to the colony either fell ill due to poor living conditions or contracted various tropical diseases that thrived in the area like a forest fire. The prison was spread across 3 islands, and except for the solitary confinement cells, most prisoners were allowed relatively free movement within the colony. The only way to leave the colony was to swim through shark-infested waters. Throughout its history, a total of 80,000 people were held in the colony, with only 9 individuals successfully escaping. However, many of these escape attempts are questioned by the French authorities, suggesting that most likely people could only leave the place when their sentences were completed. But the story of the inmates didn't end there because, in an attempt to ensure the survival of the colony, a law was enacted stating that convicts had to live in French Guiana for the same number of years as they spent in prison before they were allowed to return home. Prison, Black Dolphin, Russia. The federal state institution, Correctional Colony No. 6 of the Federal Penitentiary Service in the Orenburg region, better known as the Black Dolphin prison due to the statue of a black dolphin built by the inmates at the entrance, is one of the oldest and safest institutions in the country. The prison is located in the town of Sol-Iletsk, Orenburg region, near the border with Kazakhstan. It is believed that this is where criminals were first sent to prison, which happened in 1745. Since then, the facility has undergone significant changes and has been exclusively used as a prison for those sentenced to life imprisonment since 2000. This means that the prison houses around 700 of the most dangerous individuals from across Russia. Most of the day, each inmate is held in isolation in their cell, which is guarded by 3 steel doors with independent controls. However, the criminals are allowed 90 minutes outside their cells for exercise, during which searches for contraband are conducted in their cells. Upon entry, the prisoners' eyes are blindfolded, preventing them from learning the prison's layout and planning an escape. They are also required to wear hoods when being moved between buildings. The inmates are fed soup 4 times a day, and inside their cells, they are allowed only radios, books, and newspapers. The cells are under 24-hour surveillance. Very little is known about the conditions inside the prison because all the inmates are serving life sentences, and it is unknown if anyone has ever escaped from this place. It is unlikely that any of the prisoners from this prison would be able to tell the tale. Shuncheng Detention Center, China. Built in 1958, the Shuncheng Detention Center is one of the most infamous prisons in China and operates under a special regime. It is the destination for the majority of high-ranking criminals. People who participated in the Tiananmen Square protests in 1989, political prisoners, significant figures from Tibet and Taiwan, as well as those convicted of corruption, along with the most dangerous murderers and other criminals from across China, are held here. The complex is divided into 3 parts. The first consists of the prison houses where inmates are segregated based on their rank, determined by social status, previous occupation in the outside world, and the severity of their crimes. The second part is where the inmates perform labor, including washing facilities, factories, and farms. The third part is where the staff and their families reside. To depersonalize the inmates, their names are never used, and they are assigned numbers upon entering the prison. Treatment, food, amenities, and even medical care vary depending on the importance of the individual and their behavior. This place remains one of the most secretive in China, and there are very few photographs showing what the prison looks like inside. For every resident of China, it is the last place they would want to end up. Friends, don't hesitate to write comments under the video about what else you would like to learn. I will definitely fulfill your wish. Bye for now.